an improbable nation, as you know, some political analysts in the West and even the colonial administration at the time had thought that Gambia wouldn't be able to be on its own. So I made a discovery last night while I was doing some research that we're actually the oldest English-speaking country in West Africa. Quite remarkable. If you think of, you know, if you were to compare us to some of these bigger English-speaking nations within, you know, our region, and you look at the time that they attained independence compared to us, I think it's quite remarkable. However, I think if you look at our journey from pre-independence to post-independence, like, I mean, after even Sadauda's time.
Well, Ansumana, that's the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Fabakary Tombong Jatta. They are arriving at the Makati Square in Banjul, and I'm sure the Chief Justice will be arriving soon as well. Of course, the Vice President, Cabinet Ministers, and of course, like I said, the President of the Republic, Adama Barrow, will be presiding over this celebration at the Makati Square. Yeah,
so I mean, I was just saying we've achieved quite a lot, even though, I mean, at this stage, I think we could have done better, but we must also be proud of how far we have come. If you look at our journey, you look at how our independence, I mean, the pioneers for this day we're celebrating today, I mean, you look at their struggles and what they've had to go through, the sabotage, you know, the challenges they've had to confront. I think for me, the saddest part in our journey is the fact that one of our leading founders did not witness us attain independence, Edward Francis Small. I mean, how I wish he witnessed that. But I think if you look at our journey, we should be proud of what we've been able to achieve.
You talk about, I mean, even though we have come a long way, 59 years, I mean, there are still things that we could have done better. I mean, what is that? But then that's the Chief of Defense Staff, Mamat Ocham, they're arriving at the Makati Square. And then, yes, Ansumana, what are some of the things that you think we could have done better?
So it's generally about development. I mean, Gambia is not unique to challenges that other countries are, I mean, also facing. However, because I say this, history tells us that there was a time when we had one of the best civil service across the continent. People who come from other countries come to Gambia to study how to serve their people better. We had the structures there. But in terms of infrastructure as well, from the first administration, that is the Jawara administration, I think they could have done better in terms of educational structures, like infrastructure, because we had very few schools back then. I think with more schools and more people educated, I think maybe by now, because the thinking at the time and now is different. I mean, I have a feeling that people were perhaps maybe more committed to realizing our national dreams. I'm not saying people now are not, but you look at the thinking back then and now, it's quite different. So maybe that for me would have been an opportunity to perhaps instill that sense of thinking into more people. And I believe with more schools, we would have been able to achieve that. The other one also is, you look at maybe perhaps our road infrastructures, you know, we're doing better, but we could have done better back then. I know there were challenges, we had issues even in time, because we are not a country that is well endowed when it comes to natural resources compared to other countries.
Yeah, hence the reason that people doubted, people were questioning whether
all we had was what, groundnut?
Exactly.
But I think we could have done better. I mean, this is me. That's what I believe. Even during the previous administration, the Jammeh time as well, we could have done better. However, I think where we lost it is how we did not maintain the structures we had from the start. I still struggle to understand how you can go from having one of the best civil service on the whole continent, and you have people from other countries coming to Gambia to learn how to serve their people, and we just lose it.
Mr. Mboy, do you have different views from?
Not necessarily. You see, it seems to me that it doesn't matter how well you perform. In theory, you could have done better.
Yes.
So when you find yourself in a trap, isn't it? So let us be careful here. We go back to the base. What was it? When these people set out that now they're going to run themselves. What have you got? Yeah, two hospitals at that time for secondary schools. Yes, we were called all sorts of names. Earlier on, you said
and those two hospitals were Bansang and then
Royal Victoria
Edward
Hospital,
Francis.
yes. We used to be called the Groundnut Colony. Others will call us a kind of hot dog in a Senegalese sausage roll, a finger pointing into Senegal. There were all sorts of things. In fact, when we had independence, there was what they call grant in aid. What, £745,000? We were running 30% deficit on our budget. So we started from a very, very low base. The whole basis of the economy that we inherited, that was there merely to make sure that the colonial system was running well. It wasn't necessarily for our benefit. We were among the most ill-prepared people to demand independence. That was really how many graduates. Can you imagine how many we had? Be it doctors or lawyers, we talk about Per Sanjay being the first Wolof lawyer. Can you imagine this was in the 40s and 50s?
Yeah.
So the base was just so low. That was why there was that skepticism that Gambia could be a viable independent state.
Could this be the reason why the British had even entertained this idea of, leaving Gambia up to the French?
Let me tell you something here. Since the 1870s, there was that on the table. The British government agreed with the French in 1870 that they were going to have what they called an exchange. They'll give the Gambia to the French, and the French would give them a territory, one of their territories. Between them, most of these areas, they've interchanged hands between the two in the 1700s, really. At one point, it will be in the hands of the British. The following point, the French will take it, and it comes back. Gorée, places like Gorée, and all of this stuff, that was what it was. Then in 1875, there was a Gambia Native Association. The Akos, educated ones, formed the lobby group and fought that. No, they didn't want to go to the French. And there was a coincidence as well. In the British House of Commons, there was also disagreement among the MPs, even though the government had agreed, but they really didn't like it. So they shelved the idea. So it would recur. So many times it will recur. But still, that lobby was strong. They fought that off. That was a big fight, really, in our journey. Otherwise, the whole of history would have been otherwise.
We would have been
On
speaking
the very
French by now.
on the very eve of our independence, after they've gone to Britain, Sadada Jawara, I think he went with Sheriff Sekoba Cisse, and there were others, the Independence Conference, 1964. Was it Duncan Sanders, who was the secretary, said, yes, we will grant the Gambia independence, but after they had explored all the ways of bringing us together with Senegal. Until the eve, we were not trusted.
Wow.
Absolutely. So, but again, Sadada was singularly determined that, just as the people of the Gambia Native Association, how they were like, that no, we can do it. We are going to be sovereign. We are going to be independent. So it's been a struggle ever since, really, for Gambia to be an independent, sovereign country. They thought we couldn't do it. In a way, it's a mini miracle. I'm going to call it that. We are here, 2024. Still, history hasn't stopped, granted. No need to gloat. I can imagine in 50 years, 80 years, Senegal swallowing us up. History is very interesting. But we are here, 2024.
And like you said earlier on, you described how the Gambia was being described as a hot dog, groundnut colony, and all these things. But what was special about the Gambia that the British were not willing to let go, just to grant us independence like that?
Yes.
For a country that you said it doesn't have natural resources, it has nothing, yet, you don't want to give independence? What was special about this country?
The geographic location, I think, especially after 1807, by then they had abolished slavery officially, and then therefore they needed really to patrol West Africa. That was actually one of the reasons as well why they had to go to Sierra Leone as well, because they sent a naval squadron that had to have a base. So it was in Sierra Leone first. Actually, for a very long time, we were being governed from Sierra Leone, but this is it. They needed to patrol the high seas, the Atlantic, and we were geographically fantastic because they ceded everything else to Senegal, to France, sorry, but they decided that that strip of land will keep on, hold on to that. That was really the geostrategic position of the Gambia. That was really what they needed.
And Sumano?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it has more to do with the geography, as Mr. Mboj said. Because if you look at even our map, our country map, I mean, it's quite obvious. I mean, all they were interested in is ensuring that slavery or slave trade activities were not happening within this end. And, you know, I think our journey for me is quite remarkable. It's really quite remarkable. I don't think of the many, you know, English-speaking countries on the continent that we've had. If you look at our journey to their journey rather to independence compared to ours, I think they had more doubts with us than they did with others.
Quite interesting. And now let's look at some of the challenges post-independence. Yes, you wanted independence. Now we've granted you your independence. What were some of the challenges that they have to encounter? Sadauda and others. I mean, now you want independence. Yes, you have the independence now. Go with your affairs.
Oh, absolutely. That's really we've already touched on it. From the low base. So now, what do you do? How do you generate income? What would be your strategy? This was during the Cold War, really, and in Africa we've had sort of two types. We've had the type that followed the West, you know, liberal market economics, and you had the others who sort of tried to follow socialism and that sort of thing. And there was the idea of the one-party state and the like. But Sadauda really believed in multi-party democracy. He was being really encouraged from all angles to do all sorts of things, but he didn't do that.
Well, Mr. Mboj, now we have the First Lady Fatima Barrow and Lady Sadio Mbalo Barrow. Also, they've arrived at the Makati Square to join in the celebration of the Gambia's 59th nationhood. Yeah.
That's it. So with us, we went for market economics, liberalism, as it were, and then try to encourage investments all over the place. We had parastatals as well. I mean, as Mr. Nyasi remember the other day when we were on Hell, you listed all the companies that we had. And then Sadauda was brilliant at forming relationships, international relationships. This was crucial, this was key, because this was how he went out there to get money, to mobilize resources. We didn't have anything at all. As I said, we were running a 30% deficit in our budget. But once we got the resources, though, the money from all over, he did quite well in managing these resources. In fact, we were making economic gains early on. It was making it modest. Some people might call it modest, fine, but it kept us going, and we were open. Others from outside were willing to help. Just to give you an example, in the 80s, when President Mitterrand, François Mitterrand, was the president of France, Sadauda went over there, spoke to him, he said, I wanted to do something in telecoms. Then we had Gamtel. And then at some point we had this brilliant duo, Bakari Njai and Iliman Cham. They turned Gamtel into something else. We were second only to South Africa.
Which is now down.
Absolutely.
Almost dead. He's almost dead.
So this is it.
Exactly.
So it just tells you. So this was the sort of thing that he was trying to do. But something else happened. Now we talk about the Gambia, how we feel external shocks. Now everybody knows about this. The Russia-Ukraine war, we talk about it, and the pandemic. Now we see how vulnerable we are. We've always been vulnerable in that way. Just given a drought, there was a Sahel drought in the 1970s. Stuff like that. Absolutely. Just giving something like a drought and then you are in trouble. That was really what happened to us. Then we started getting into a whole series of economic difficulties. It was descending from then on. Just realized that by 81, there was an attempted coup.
Kukoi Samba Sanyang.
Kukoi Samba Sanyang. So, in many ways, we were victims of circumstances. Some might argue that maybe the policies were not correct, but with these things, economists themselves will argue among themselves. You know what I mean? What I'm concerned here with is the fact that there appeared to have been a kind of vision, a direction, and a seriousness at the heart of government. You will get some things wrong, but the important thing is really the big picture. For me, that's what I look at. That is why when people will tell you, oh, this was wrong, that was wrong, that was... Obviously, you expect perfection. How? Where? Yeah. Some things were always going to go wrong. So that was really what happened in that period until we started having these things, and we're still feeling external shocks. Any government, any minister, any president will know this, that God, my room for maneuver is not really that much.
And earlier on, you talk about the role of Edward Francis. I mean, just take us through. I mean, Ansumana, I mean, you've both read about the struggle for independence, the role of the media, how, I mean, the likes of Edward Francis were using the media to, to really, spread the message about what was happening in the country. At some point, he even went on exile and all those stuff.
Yes, he lived in Rufusque, in
Senegal,
at some point. Absolutely, the Gambia Outlook.
Yeah.
That was his paper. He was born in 1890 in Bathurst.
Now Banjul.
Yes. I just assume that everybody knows that.
Exactly. But for those who are going to school and doing history, at least you know.
All right. All right. So then as he grew up, he wanted to become, he took holy orders. They wanted him to take holy orders to become a priest and stuff like that. And then around 1917, there was this particular incident in Balangar,
where he was on posting.
Yes, he was on postings, exactly, as a priest, as a father. So he had an incident. He had a run-in with a white merchant, a white person, and then the whole system just sided with the white merchant. And I think by 1918, he was dismissed from the mission. And he was really very angry. He was quite bitter about that. So that really radicalized him somewhat. By 1919, he had formed an association as well, Gambian Native Development, something like that. But the crucial thing here is this. By 1920, there was something called the West Africa Congress formed. You had these educated elites in the Gold Coast. One of the founders, the famous J.E. Kisley Hayford, that's it. For them, their demands were more franchise or emancipation. This was really one of the very first organizations dedicated to our emancipation. So Edward Francis Small went to the very first conference in Accra in 1920. So he came back, can you imagine, with these ideas. By 1929, he had formed the Bathurst Trade Union. 1933, registered as the first trade union in Africa. This is another first. I was quite staggered in my years growing up, realizing how Gambia was actually the first to do stuff like that. He had formed that. Yes. Afterwards, the Ratepayers Association. I mean, he was the one who sort of woke us, as it were, from the slumber, if one can call it that, forming all kinds of associations, fighting the colonial system for our emancipation. In many ways, that was really what he did. He died in 1958, but he had left his print everywhere, everywhere. He started all of it, and then the next generation, because he was a veteran generation, it was the next generation now who started forming political parties and all the rest of it.
And hence the reason the former President Jammeh renamed the former Royal Victoria King Hospital, RVTH, in his name, Edward Francis. And now we have seen the President Barrow also, named the conference center after Dawda Kairaba Jawara. But there were other people, players as well in this whole thing. So, Ansumana, how do you think, we should also remember those people as well?
It's good you pointed this out. Yeah. I think this is why I fight with colleagues mostly, especially those who tell me, the people that fought for independence and Sadauda, they didn't do much. I don't like hearing that, because if you read, you'll realize that actually they've done a lot. Yeah. And I like the idea of naming, national, maybe institutions or structures, after some of these people. Today, when you talk about, the biggest referral hospital in Gambia is named after Edward Francis Small, but I think for me it came a little too late.
Well, Ansumana, those images you are saying from the State House in Banjul, where the convoy is on standby, and any moment from now, the President of the Republic, President Adama Barrow, will be leaving to the Makati Square, which is just a stone throw from his residence in Banjul. And then those are the live images, exclusively from QTV. We have our team on the ground who are giving us the beautiful images you are seeing as far as this year's independence celebrations are concerned. Those are the images, and it seems the President will be moving any moment from now to the Makati Square in Banjul.
Yeah. So what this does is, it allows the younger generation to learn and get to know and even appreciate more our history. Today, if you talk about the only international conference center we have, Sadauda Kairaba,
state of the art,
which for me is superb. It's good, and it's quite sad because there's a lot of other people. The reason why, before the hospital was named after or renamed, after Edward Francis Small, you hardly hear people talk about him. Even when we celebrate independence, especially during the Jammeh era, some of these people's names are hardly mentioned. And for me, I think we should use this day not to criticize the previous administrations, but to appreciate how far we've come, take stock of how far we've come, and look at what we can do to perform better as a country. It's quite sad. I think for me, sometimes we concentrate more on the negative aspect of things than what we've been able to achieve from 1965 to date. So naming some of these, national monuments or, structures after some of these people, how many people today, our generation, can tell you about P.S. Nyai or the J.C. Fais? And these people were there way before even Sadauda. But how many of us can really say something about them? So it's important. And for me, I think it's the only way to go.
Thank you very much, Ansumana. Jërëjëf Ansumana ak Modou Mbodj képp ko am ne yaa ngi seetaan QTV ak di ñu déglu Q Radio tey ñu ngi fi pour indi li nga ne moo nekk Gambia's Independence Celebration tey la Gambia di màggal 59 years gannaaw bu mu amee boppam from British rule. Mr Mbodj ñu indi la rek nga doliñ tuuti si kàllaama Wolof independence soo ñu mën a tënkal tuuti rek naka la dooree ak ba fu ñu toll nii tey mun ngaa wax ne Gambia tey moom nañ suñu bopp we are independent.
So many, I'm independent. What really do I mean? An individual. Danga need ñeneen in so many different ways. Let us be careful. Lan lañ mean by independence. Yes.
Waaye ko loolu li ngeen ka gis ne moo nekk di président Adama Barrow mu ngi duga si fi nga moo nekk Makati Square fi nga fu lañu war a màggal li nga xam ne moo nekk independence celebration bi convoy baa ngi noonu président mu ngi taxaw si motam bi xam naa léegi tey gars yi commencé nga moo nekk parade bi Mr Mbodj.
gis nga li ñu am 1965 18th of February symbolisme la dañ ñi doon symbole pour wane ne ñu ngi génn ci
loxo tubaab bi
benn loxo tubaab bi léegi ñu ngi jël suñ boppa waaye loolu is only formalistic boobu lu formal la woon the reality pour nga build sa nation boobu beneen process la woon nit ñi dañ assume woon ne su fekkee ne rek tubaab yi dem nañ ñun ñuy run suñ own things dina get better lu nekk dina get better well léegi ñu ngi find out ne way yoon gi métti na di we just didn't know kenn foogutoon loolu di optimisme mu ngi tax bi xooluñ sax ñun suñ jooni biñ about bul jël waaye fu mu nekk ñu ngi realize loolu of course lii tax na ñu bari ñu ngi négative waaye ñu négative mais bi dañ xala am xel bu gàtta xamuñ woon ñun suñ jël benn bi ñoo door naka la lowee woon really
am na solo
loolu dafa am solo
yes mbaɗigol melɓe QTV juuɓe kan ani melɓe lawol kan Q radio bi felente motal pour que live covenant wala mo Gambia independence celebration mi yalan ko aɓe kering Makati Square Banjul dula mi yalan ko na banko ñatan ko his excellency president Adama Barrow wala ɓe ñaton ka yala pour que ñing lungo juura bi Makati Square ñin temeto comme a ñabala ala screen to banko ñatan ko president Adama Barrow felente a putata Makati Square dula mi yalan ko mo jama maɓe taji pour que ñin lungo juura ning ansumane eso ñasi ani Modou Mbodj tolɓe studio kono jang bari na kuro fanan ɓe Makati Square yadula mi alen ko alka pekesol mel je e tolle ba dika molla jan tol mi alen ko flenti ɓe studio kono jang on Kairaba Avenue ansumana comme non koni kadi gesi rek mu nekani président bi exina hamna
waaw
la nekk def patte xam naa moo yaa ngi doon dem school yaa ngi doon dem Banjul.
waaw
so bi nga xoolee lii lu mu la fàttel.
jamono boobu Aliou su independence.
xam nga ñun moom ñu ngi si dëkk bi ñun ñu ngi si village bi.
gars yi ne naka waa Kombo.
waaw ñun moom ñun duñ waa Kombo. ñun waa ob bi la
waa ob nga
waaw ñun waa ob lañ. waaw ñu ne booy ob bi.
waaye Aliou foog naa am na time ñun bi ñoo nekk xaleel. te dama bëggoon ne ñoom Mr Mbodj seen time noonu la woon. su independence daan ñëw dañ ko daan waajal. ñu jëndal la uniforme bu
xam naa ko gis Mr Mbodj muy match nag.
waaw
xam nga ñu waa Banjul lañ.
waaw nga dem Nikot la jëndal la uniforme bu ees. kawaas bu ees daala bu ees da nga ko daan séntu lu ñu daan séntu la. waaye foog naa bés bi nekk na bés boo xam ne bés bu am solo la si taarix Gambia ndaxte ñu ngi màggal juróom fukki at ak juróom-ñeent gannaaw bu ñu génnee ci loxo tubaab bi te. baax na bés bu mel ni tey maa ngi ko doon wax rek ci anglais ñu fàttaliku ñi nga xamante ne ñooy doomi réewi Gambie yu taxawoon ba gis ne Gambie moom na boppam ci loxo tubaab yi.
gannaaw yàlla ñoom la de.
waaw gi si mel ni
taxaw
Edward Francis Small ñoom Jesse Faye ñoom P.S. Ndiaye ñoom Sir Dawda ñoom Gaba Jahumpa ak ñeneen ñoo xamante ne jàppoon nañ ci ba tey ñu agsi fii maa ngi doon wax rek ne dafa mel ni ñun indépendance su ñëwee li ma bàyyi xel mooy nguur bi nga xam ne exact nguur bi fi jógee sax for exemple dañ daan focus moo si lan moo ñaaw wala lan la fi tubaab yi def lu bon ak ñu ni tamit nguur bi nga xam ne lañ uutu lan la fi def lu bon man ma foog ne bési tey bi concentration bi should be on lan lañ amal suñ boppa bi buñ moomee suñ boppa ba tey lan lañ mën a defal suñ boppa lañ lay am si wàllum yokkute ak lan lañ mën a def gis ne suñ situation gën naa improve ñu gën a am yokkute man foog naa loolu moo war a nekk jubluwaay bi waaye gannaaw loolu tam Aliou képp kuy doomi réew war ngaa mën a pugaroo ba si tey bii ndax soo gisee ñuy wax ne réew Gambia jamono amoon na comme ni ko Mr Mbodj indee si taarix toog nañ ba waxtaan seet ni ñoo génnee tubaab yi ni ñoo génnee seen loxo si Gambia delloo ko français yi comme mu mel ni tey ni kon man ak yow tey ñu ngi làkk français
waaw
wala nekk nañ ci régime beneen réew xëy na duñu doon OS sax Gambia
ça va
wala ñu nekkoon a region perhaps so lu ñu war a apprécier la bés bi dañ ko war a célébrer dañ ko war a apprécier te foog naa dafa war a tax ñu gën a beesal suñ góom-góom si suñu réew waaye tam ñu gën a bennoo gën a dundal jaama gën koo saxal si réew mi ndax bés bu am solo la soo gestoo Gambia xam nga juróom fukki at ak juróom-ñeent soo ko génnee si dundi doomi aadama bi tey wala Gambien bi xam nga ne lu bëri na de Aliou loolu bëri na de waaw kon soo gestoo suñ jaar-jaar bi ak si fii tey dañu war a apprécier bés bi ñu use bés bi pour fàttalikuwaat ñun ñooy ñan ak lan lañ bugga naka lañ bugga Gambia mel la see tey am nañ 59 years bu ñoo celebrate naka lañ bugga Gambia mel in the next 59 years loolu yëpp war naa bokk si xalaati bési tey bi
yàlla ñu ko fekkee next 59 years.
amiin
Mr Mbodj bi nga xoolee lii
nekk
xam
na
nga
pa.
waaw dafa mel ni président bi egsi na mu ngi wàccas nga ne mu nekk motaam bi fale ca Makati Square xam naa ne gars yi ñu ko wàcc na si motaam bi mu ngi sol xaftaanam bu weex xam nga moom dafa fonk xaftaan nag moom dafa fonk xaftaan so gars ñu ngi ko welcome comme ni ma ko waxee rek après xam naa dafa dem inspect li nga ne mu nekk parade bi comme ni loolu ko déggee rek am nañ the various security apparatus yëpp ñu ngi fa police yi soldats yi Gambia Revenue Authority immigration prison ñëpp ñu ngi fa nga ne ñooñu war a jox nga ne mu nekk match pass yi waaye am tam xale school yi of course ñoom tam dinañ match pass comme li ma ko wax rek yi fi match pass bi xam naa naa si indi Mr Mbodj yéen seen jamono independence celebration ak léegi ban wëcceeku moo am
lu bari ñun li njëkk a notice mooy the militarization military uniforms yi léegi dafa bari gisal li nga mention yëpp Gambia Revenue Authority and on all of these things Gambia Immigration Department bari na before ni nga am police yi di march waaye di focus moo nekkoon students
waaw Mr Mbodj xam naa ne léegi dañuy dem Makati Square te ñu déglu xam naa gaañu nga ñëw tegal li nga ne national anthem bi
melody sound.
Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, as protocol demands and tradition, before we venture into any program proper, we commit ourselves into the blessed hands of Almighty God through prayers. Therefore, on this note, may I respectfully invite the Imam Batib of Banjul, Al-Haji Cherno Ali Maska, to lead us in the Muslim prayers. Ya Imam.
الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم أنت الأول فليس قبلك شيء وأنت الآخر فليس بعدك شيء وأنت الظاهر فليس وأنت الباطن فليس دون شيء. وكلنا يا أول يا آخر يا سائر يا باطن وليا ونصير أنت ولينا مولانا فنعم المولى نعم النصير. اللهم اجعل بلادنا غامبيا بلدا آمنا مطمئنا يأتي رزقا رغدا من كل مكان ونجنا من كل بلاء وقلاء وطاعون وسنن ووباء. طاهر من جميع ذلك بلادنا خاصة بلاد المسلمين عامة. حرمة اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والقاتم لما سبق الناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدر ومقدار عظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. بحرمة لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم آمين. توفيق ndokkale ko ndokkale Gambie yëpp ñi ci réew mi ak ñi biti réew ñëpp lii yal na sax ba pencam yàlla yàlla buñ mos di am problème yal na xol yëpp nekk benn ñëpp bokk juboo bokk ndey ak baay liggéey ngir intérêt si nation bi ak réew mi ak général àddina bi yëpp yal nañ am jàmm. wasalaamaaleykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Amen, Ya Imam. May I at this juncture respectfully invite the chairman of the Christian Council, or his representative, Mr. Bishop Bani Manga, to lead us in the Christian prayers. Bishop.
Please let us continue in prayer. Gracious God, you who made the heavens and the earth and has created us in your own image, we thank you for the nation of the Gambia, and we thank you that we have moved from an improbable nation to a nation of red, white, blue, white, green. We thank you for all that you continue to do in and through us in this nation of the Gambia. Gracious God, on this day in which we celebrate our independence, we pray that you will continue to lift your hand concerning this nation, and you will continue to give us peace. You will continue to give us progress. You will continue to give us prosperity, so that in respective of our diversities, we will continue to be one people under you, Gambians. Bless us. Bless our leadership. Bless our country. We pray in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and our Savior. Amen.
Amen. And may all the prayers be answered. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Mr. Adam Barrow, Grand Master of the Republic of the Gambia. Your Excellency, the First Lady, Madam Fatoumata Bah Barrow, Your Excellency, Madam Sajo Mbalo Barrow, Your Excellency, Madam Khadijatu Juma Jallo, who is the mother of His Excellency President Adam Barrow, the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, His Lordship the Chief Justice of the Gambia, the Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service, Honorable Cabinet Ministers here present, Honorable Members of the National Assembly and members of the Judiciary, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, the Chief of Defense Staff, Gambia Armed Forces, and the Inspector General of the Gambia Police Force, Armed and Security Services Chiefs, General Officers, Senior Officers here present, Heads of Government Departments, non-governmental organizations, parastatals, private companies and institutions, venerable religious leaders, members of the press, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols duly and respectfully observed. I am Lieutenant Colonel Lamin K. Sanyang, the Director of Press and Public Relations, Gambia Armed Forces, and Master of Ceremony for this very important 59th Independence Anniversary Celebrations Parade. On behalf of the National Organizing Committee, I would like to welcome you all to the Makati Square in Banjul on this fateful Sunday, 18th of February 2024. We are gathered here to celebrate, honor, commemorate, reflect, and pay homage to a day and an event that has shaped the course of history in the Gambia and the world at large. On this day in 1965, the Union Jack was lowered. And the Gambian national flag hoisted to mark the birth of a new nation called the Gambia. On this day, the Republic of the Gambia joined the great family of free nations as an independent nation and free people. Hence, the 18th of February is set aside each year as a national day in the Gambia to reflect, celebrate, and honor this fateful day when the chains of bondage and colonialism were broken and the Gambia became a nation of free and dignified people. At independence, it had been made clear that the Gambia is now the free homeland of the Gambian people, and that as a country liberated from the colonial yoke, it has natural rights. And these rights are the rights to sovereignty, territorial integrity, political independence, and unity. Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, and gentlemen, at independence in 1965, a new nation called the Gambia declared that it bears no allegiance, obedience, or adherence to any foreign power or state, that only the sovereign people of the Gambia have the right to determine who is to lead this country and how it is to be governed. And no foreign power or state had the right to determine who is to lead our country and its manner of government. On this day, the Gambia and her people, armed with faith and hope in the spirit of progress and peace for a greater nation, embarked on this historic journey in search of socio-economic development and growth. Therefore, 59 years today, the Gambia can boast of several infrastructural developments in the area of, for example, the airports, state-of-the-art hospitals, excellent road networks, a modern university, a wide range of home-trained as well as internationally trained lawyers, doctors, professionals in diverse fields. On this note, I have the singular honor and privilege to respectfully invite the parade commander, Lieutenant Colonel Abdullah Ba, to invite His Excellency the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Adama Barrow, to inspect the troops. Parade Commander, sir.
Sorry, can you slow down? Slow down. Slow down. Boy, Yakin. Son. I fall out into them. I fall out into.
I have the permission to carry on with the parade, Your Excellency.
Next party, Mr. Right.
Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. With that, we have come to the inspection of the troops on parade by His Excellency the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Next, we shall witness the march past of the forces on parade. Just some housekeeping rules as regards the color party. In the center of the parade, you've seen the color party with the senior colors, that is the national flag of the Gambia and the Gambia Armed Forces flag. You may also observe that during the inspection by His Excellency the President, immediately they reached where the color party was, they all stood, saluted, and passed. Therefore, as the troops pass or march past before us, wherever the colors meet you, it is expected that you stand up and pay compliment. And members of the security services in uniform are expected to salute. The President and members of, when they were inspecting the parade, had the opportunity to salute. So while they are marching past now, it is our opportunity or time to also pay compliments to the national flag. You may also observe some inscriptions on the Gambian national flag if you pay attention once they drape it down. These are campaigns that the Gambia participated in, most especially for now, the First and Second World Wars. So the campaigns, if you look carefully on the flags, you'll see colored and written there, Burma, more work, and so on and so forth. So these are campaigns that we participated in conjunction with the members of the international community to ensure that peace and security flourishes throughout the world. So it is an opportunity for you, wherever you may be, once the flag is passing, to stand up, pay compliment, and salute, as the case may be. I thank you all for your kind attention. May I now invite the parade commander, Lieutenant Colonel Abdullah Ba, to commence the parade. Parade commander, sir.
Will not pass in slow and in quick time. Advance into the order.
Let's rise for the flag. Sir, you may resume your seats.
Check it out. Well done. Ini kok obrolan itu masalah mana?
today to His Excellency the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia of the Armed Forces, Mr. Barrow. Please note that the ammunition that we use is blunt ammunition and water arm. Besides, they will be pointing their rifles into the air while they fire. I thank you all for your kind attention. And anytime they fire, the rendition of the national anthem, so it is expected that we rise to pay compliments. Thank you. I only hope. I only hope my fullers and seriousness is not start running.
sornoɓe e ɗum ɗon fof ko tawagol rek e juurade e yaare o nani président jogo tolli
President and Commander-in-Chief to march off parade. And that will bring us to the end of this very splendid display of drill by the Armed Security Services of Kenya.
After the march in slow and in quick time. Advance into the road. Firing for the side and 300.
Preparation gaga bari ri gandele la jura ndimo godi ananda the standing for game den kenga the excellency president of the patun toro onta wote ngana kinyo o simo onta bana ko na mununu hangi ngana gidi do ni digite mbi may lu julani wote bakari ngana kinyo tora way lankisni hona dagi patin no gondi honi lankan nunko anyana jamulo khairin no tenke nyakama abe rule of law kenga ni mare mo boss denga parce que goti kebe angat nandi ngaro tokora kebe ti gambia na kone kengia ado ke endara jado ke khairi be gayra kone anatalla andume parce que na gambia to kenye gambia gana jiri harsa nantalla njate kenye ken no gondi watni ken kota gana ni kota nantin na ken kota daga ona arago kitumpidi nanti kenya ni gara national dialogue ndabar yerdo kota kenara angat nandido presake nankat nankacha dome ini kitungi ni memania ko tigi mbadnu kasudine isubobu ida presake bitomani me kenya ni rigi
Well, you're still watching live broadcast here on QTV Gambia as we bring you the Gambia's 59th Independence celebration at the Makati Square in Banjul, where the Gambian leader, President Adama Barrow, is joining hundreds of Gambians at the Makati Square to celebrate, the 59 years since the Gambia gained independence rule from the British on 18th of February 1965 at the same venue where the Union Jack was lowered for the last time and the Gambian flag hoisted. And as you have been watching here on QTV, you have seen our fine men and women in uniform, giving us a spectacular parade where, of course, earlier on we saw the President of the Republic, President Adama Barrow, inspected, the parade, before, witnessing that march past by our fine men and women in uniform. And of course, this will be followed by that of these school-going children and of course other women groups as well at the Makati Square. Mr. Mboch and Sumana, you have seen that a spectacular parade by our fine men and women in uniform.
It's usually
one thing that comes to our mind when we talk about independence celebration is the march past.
Indeed. I think for me the military parade is one part of this, of the independence events that I always look forward to. This is when you get to see how good we are at marching. I remember back in the days they would say, you can talk about how, less endowed we are when it comes to natural resources. You can talk about how underdeveloped we are. You can criticize us and call us all sorts of names. But one thing you cannot take away from us is that we have one of the finest national anthems. And when it comes to marching, we're just good at it.
Mr. Mboch, earlier on you talk about the issue of militarizing the celebration and all those things.
It must be the generational gap, because with us, when we talked about Independence Day and the march past and that, the focus was more on the schools. Which one was the best, in marching and the like, and who looked the neatest, who was neat. You've got new uniforms and the socks. With us, the focus was really on the students. The idea of the military, of course you had the police, they would march, but, well, the military was formed in 1984. Pre that, there was no such thing for us. There was the field force, but that was small. So to me, this is like a change, a massive change in it. Now the military really, in many ways, takes center stage. You're going to have to say that. But I have a completely different experience. I think we should focus more on the students and the like.
And on a day like, today, and Sumana, we've seen a cross-section of people. We've seen the mayor of Banjul, among other dignitaries, are all attending, irrespective of their political affiliation. A day like today, they all come together under one roof to celebrate this day. And Sumana, what should we learn from this?
Tells you just how important this day is to all of us. If you look at even how we attained independence, it wasn't just a one-party fight or some, certain group fight. Everybody was involved. Everyone, regardless of where your allegiance, was as politically, or even, if you had any other connections. But what everyone saw at that moment was Gambia.
There was a unity of purpose.
Indeed. And so that is what we have on display today as well. Regardless of where one's allegiance is, we have something that we share, all of us, and that is Gambia. And so I think this is just one example that we don't need to be fighting.
And do you know what? It was really like that in the beginning. When we went for that constitutional independence conference in 1964, remember by then Jawara was prime minister. But guess what? You had government representatives, SS Cisse, Sheikh Omar Cisse, SM Diba, they were there. But again, Per Sanjay was there, different party. And then you had Gaba Jahum was there. So they went as a unified team, as it were. So this is it. There are certain things that transcend narrow, petty party politics.
Exactly.
We want democracy, therefore we are going to have party politics, but again, let us be mindful of the national agenda, if we can put it that way, the national aspirations. Then where we need to come together, we come together.
And that brings me to the national dialogue that we've seen
Yes.
convened by the president, both with
Absolutely.
the political party leaders and, of course, another national dialogue where we saw all the political parties were represented, the representatives from the CSOs, several other religious leaders were all in attendance.
To my mind, the response was fantastic. The turnout when I saw Bibi Dabo and others, Khalifa Saleh was there.
Ahmad Ba,
So
Mama Kande.
that at least tells us one thing. There is goodwill. We've managed to galvanize really all the parties to do something. Now, its success, this is just the starting block, the first stepping stone. Its success would obviously depend on now what do we do next? Because if I say that I subscribe to a certain idea, then we start thinking about, okay, so what actions should that lead me to? So that will determine everything in the end. We hope that certain party interests wouldn't get in the way of good practice. When I'm dealing with a lot of people, you need good practice. You need to be just, fair, systems like that for it to work. Otherwise, very soon, how many times have we seen these things? Very soon, it would go your own way.
Exactly. Well, Mr. Mboch, we have now having the school kids. I mean, they have now started their March Pass. I mean, when you look at them, I'm seeing schools from Banjul actually leading. I mean, that's the first lady, Fatimata Barrow. I mean, yen bi ngeen daan match Mr. Mbodj xanaa yow yaa ngi doon bas ku nga nekkoon sa Banjul.
Albion's.
Albion's. Am na Aliou Diallo mu ngi kër mama moom.
Kër mama amul li amul fa. Kër mama moom li amul.
Wala Aliou Diallo moom nga si daara bi. Moom nga si daara ji moom.
Kër mama li amul fa.
Mu ngi doon def ut mata si ngoon pour daara ji guddi.
No, I guess nga li daan xew. I mean, the other part really being now look forward to the athletics in the afternoon.
Yes.
McCarthy Square.
Loolu sax léegi dafa xala date.
Yes. So ñu nga gis ne ñu bari schools yëpp dañ daan ñëw ñu jógee ci dex gi ñëw.
So gis ay Arabic school itam nekkut ñu dee jàng English rek waaye even Arabic school ñu tam ñëw nañ.
Fu mu nekk kay all sorts moo am. Waaye ni nga gis ne students yi suñ ñëwaan ñun mi nekk around dañ suñ ñëw distribute la among the schools. So ñun ñu fi nekk ñu jël ku nekk nga ñëw ndekk si suñ kër. I remember the year I did that.
So yéen nekkoon host daal.
ñu ñoo nekkoon the
Banjul
host. So ñu ni so there's no need for hotel, no need for any of that. No need for, there will be no issue. Da ngaa ñëw rek family jël la. Then ñu am suñ event. Enjoy suñ boppa. Then 2-3 days later perhaps nga dem. You'll be surprised how many mbokk lañ bil ci yu mel noonu.
Xam nga mooy lu ma la wax si gannaaw.
Between Fele ak town.
Naka lañ def ba ñàkk loolu yëpp Mr. Mbodj because tey dafa neex nga jógee rese Basse. nga ñëw Banjul ñu dalal la nga mel ni ku nekk sa biir kër. loolu daf fi yàgga but we've lost all of that.
Wow, not least because society ngi change. 1994 as well, we had a certain experience boo xam ne the old ways, the old order yëpp a dama ci lañ gën a am sa brain drain, everybody just left. So amoon na a period boo xam ne that orderly, that continuity dafa am a break, and let's be honest, for a political change, right? Bul worry, society will soon follow. That's exactly what happens. Yeah. It's really the politics that really sets the tone. I mean, lolo ñu dal. I'm named two different sets of governments. I'm named the First Republic. I'm named the Second Republic. Mun nañu make certain comparison. They gis nga the significance of the leader. For change politics, nga am different kind of people. When we talk about President Jawara's time, the democracy and liberalism, why yaa ngi amoon orderliness. Social society ñu ngi free, xam nga amuloo loo ragal ñu laa jël si, so ñu ngi create on that orderliness. Waaye then suddenly nga am president boo xam ne dafa saaga mag ñi. Then what are you putting in the heads of kids? am yu garaaw yoo xam ne
at least moom tam indi na some developments tam infrastructure developments ñu bari ñu ngi wax ne te time am dañ am University of the Gambia bi time am lañ am national television bi time am lañ am airport bi even though I mean when it comes to the human rights records it wasn't
Why hanga fi we are talking about two different things. You see, you're about the buildings, institutions.
Wow, exactly, wow.
Man the damage to the social fabric.
Wow. Why? Okay, when you look on the other side, definitely actually just putting your balance correct.
No, my point is, you're talking about the infrastructural aspect.
Yes.
Let's talk about that, even though some people will tell you a school is not a building. I'm so much water them into it.
School.
Yes. What is the quality? Stuff like
exactly,
that. Man, I'm talking about the social fabric. Limtie the jahase families. The whole idea of you have to be watchful. Balanga wah. You see, I'm a commission to measure. It is it is unquantifiable, as it were. The whole agenda. What was the nation's agenda? Everybody will talk about development, but actions here, commission one. You know what I mean? We have to take all of these into account so that you prepare for the future. You know what I mean? There's no need to, I wouldn't come here and say what everything that Jawara did was right. Oh, for God's sake, I'm not we all know that. So what do I learn from that? What do I learn from Jammeh? Instead of stick my head in the sand, the pretend it is childish. I support this one. Therefore, I'm okay with it. That is childish. What was wrong, say it. What was right, we take it and move forward.
Exactly. I mean, in as much as didn't get to the dohot, why manama fogne dañ wara appreciate luñ am o luñ jota am ci at yi passé di buñ momé suñu bop ba tay as a country like generally because tay so waxe da nga suñu waré gestu tay nguur bu nek Sa Dawda jëlé nañu ci loxo tuba bi amna institution ju bay tay ba tay mu ngi dox Gambia mom moko establish ñu nangul ko ñu bañal ko bayina fi lu baax waye tam ñu nangul ko ñu bañal ko nguuram yi tamit amon na areas yo xamne daf ci soxon torop. The same thing with Jammeh. am na yu bari yu achieve waaye am na yu bari areas yoo xamante ne amoon na si problems and it's the same thing with any other government waaye lu ñu mën a def mooy appreciate bés bi appreciate fuñ toolu tey waaye suñ gëstoo déema seet fan ak fan lañ soxee ñun ñu seet naka la ñoo def as a country mooy agenda bi Mr Mbodj di wax nga xam ne suñu ëllëg dina génn suñu démba ak tey loolu moo war a nekk jubluwaay bi man foog na.
Well, just earlier on, I'm not why if a national dialogue book president be convened just as part of activities for Mbagaling and Monica independence be given Bunjega I'm not work time acting on Monica political party leadership. Second one be Amaling and Monica the national dialogue. You also jangat the national dialogue being. Follow you yobu.
No, this is it. When Nima Hole national dialogue, moi, looking forward to learn to my mind, moi, the art of how to disagree. The disagreement didn't know. Hang on, to the purposes of the political purposes. What is it that we want to achieve? The ends. We will all agree. We want peace. We want development. We want all of that, isn't it? Why not okay, how do we achieve that? Let's make our means to our ends. Finger disagreement. Leadership and everybody. So in pare, I'm hanging social media, man. To me, particularly this. For hamne amna kuy jog di wax yo hamne lolu jaddu in the name of your party nga dismiss ko. Ñun ñep ñu agree ne xam nga amna certain protocols you wara observe. You make sure and you try to insist pull the rank and file they follow you. So I'm a civilized way of doing politics. It doesn't necessarily mean that we will always agree. Why? Neither malapul sagalapul wah my point. I can say my point respectfully. Neither mapul you who do make anything right. What makes anything right? Perhaps in the argument. How logical are you? How realistic is it? And stuff like that. And these things are subjective. So we will always disagree, but how do you disagree? So my national dialogue, the art of how to disagree.
So,
in a civilized
Ansumana Siyaw,
way.
should this be a continuous process, or it should just be one of events?
Oh yes.
Ini kay bàyyi ñëw na ñu toog ñu waxtaan ne pare na fàtte nañ ku nekk dem nga sa yoon ba next independence again.
So two things. benn mooy lu war a continuer la. because dëkka it's not like a project, right? lu continuer la lu musa jeex la dëkka moom dafa continuer ba yàlla xam ñun mii balaa suñu génération am na ñeneen ak ñeneen ñu fi nekkoon te ñu ngi toog fii di waxtaane ñoom PS Ndiaye ak ñoom Edward Francis Small ñoom Sir Dawda balaa ñoom ñeneen la woon ñu nit dinañ dem ñeneen ñëw.
waaw dinañ ñëw ñu ne waaw ku fi nekkoon Ansumana Esso Nyasi ak ñoom Mr Mbodj.
you know exactly so lu war a continuer la because loolu rek moo ñu mën a dimbale waaye tamit bu mu em rek si continuer every year nga def nga am dialogue.
one of event rek ñu arrange an organizing committee rek dajal nit ñi.
li ñu war a def mooy every time ñu am this national dialogue because dinañ waxtaan dinañ am yenn yoo xamante ne dinañ wax ne lii ak lii de doxut. wala lii ak lii moom dox na. léegi ni ñoo def pour gis ne lu dox ñu gën koo dooleel lu doxut niñ koo ceeñee mu dox nañ make sure ne after the dialogue def nañ actions at least gis nañ actions ne ñu ngee def lii pour achieve recommendations yi nga xam ne bind nañ ko si dialogue bi balaa next dialogue bi nga xam ne by the time ñu dem to the next dialogue dañu wax ne last year de bu ñu fi dajee woon wax nañ ne lii ak lii de war nañ koo gestu fan lañ tollu si gestu ko bu mu em rek si ne ok toog nañ we have all these political party leaders si gaara nañ ku nekk nga highlight yow loo foog ne moo doxul si réew mi xam nga it cannot be just like that because li ko mooy looy am mooy every year da ngaa ñëw nga repeat sa boppa you'll keep saying the same thing because dem nañ ba to a point where fanaa ma Mr Mbodj I remember last year ñu ngi ko doon wax soo gestu suñ state of the nation address for the past 10 years daanaka du ma wax sax just on the barrel but for the past 10 years lu bari almost the same thing la dee nekk léegi ni ñoo def na wécci yu mel noonu moo war a nekk xalaat bi.
Ansumana, let's now head to the Maga Square where the president is now giving his independence address. Let's take a listen.
The former First Lady of the Gambia, Lady Chilel Jara, former Vice Presidents present, Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, my Lord the Chief Justice, honorable members of Cabinet and the National Assembly, Lord Mayors of Banjul and Kanifing Municipality, regional governors, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, representatives of international organizations and partners, political party leaders, government officials and service chiefs, community and religious leaders, fellow Gambians, boys and girls. Proudly and closely bound as a nation, we have come together once again, as we do every year, to commemorate our beloved country's attainment of political independence on 18 February 1965. Ever since, particularly from 2017 to date, we have come a long way as a nation, defying all odds to make remarkable achievements in the process of national development. In fact, the successes we registered since I assumed office as president 7 years ago are spectacularly phenomenal, tangible and undeniable. Our socio-economic achievements, especially in infrastructure development, are physically visible, cutting across all sectors, regions, communities, and demographic characteristics. The coronavirus pandemic, climate change, and other global crises, severe as they may be, have not deterred us from marching forward. Rather, we continue to make progress in a turbulent world of ever-increasing and unforeseen unrest, leading to instability in every corner of the globe. These notwithstanding, we must continually seek solutions to all possible challenges ever before they emerge. In light of the upheavals, fears and threats within the sub-region and beyond, we must endeavor to educate our people and inspire them to remain steadfast in safeguarding the nation, contributing to its progress, and helping to secure the peace and stability we so lovingly enjoy as Gambians. For this reason, it is necessary to ask searchingly, how can we preserve the nation as a people, together with our successes, and build on them? How can we safeguard the nation, inclusive of our sovereignty, symbols of authority, and institutions? How can we secure our resources and utilize them in the best interest of the people? These questions compelled me to conclude that this year's National Day celebration should be devoted to reflection on our collective responsibility of preserving the nation, safeguarding the state, and securing our resources. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, preserving the nation for what it was requires us to cherish and safeguard our identity, history, culture, social structures, relationships, and everything else that distinguishes us as a people. Embedded in these trends are our shared values and ways of coexisting in peace and harmony as Gambians. Hence, we must make sure that they are not corrupted to give way to indecency. To succeed in this national endeavor, the government we choose to manage our affairs, the Constitution and the laws that regulate behavior, the institutions that provide services, and the territorial boundaries that define our land surface must be at the heart of whatever we do. Without these, our resources would be wasted, which we must collectively resolve to prevent. At the core of our development is the economy, which lies at the center of three important futures, namely our resources, human and material, our productivity in scope and intensity, and thirdly, our level of creativity to initiate positive change, execute appropriate action, and utilize goods and services appropriately and maximally. These cannot be attained in any country without the active and collective engagement of its people. The dynamics that frustrate such efforts may corrupt up from within or outside. With a united front tied to a common goal, and with collective vigilance and reinforced by civilian cooperation with the security services, we will always repel all acts of subversion and crime against the state, either arising from within the country or elsewhere. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have successfully developed massive infrastructure to the point that there are formidable road links in every region of the country. The agriculture sector is now booming following the bumper harvest recorded this year. Tourism is peaking again, and energy generation stands at a level never recorded before in the history of the Gambia. The expansion in education and health services is prominent, and my government continues to receive positive feedback in all areas of development. We are fully aware, nonetheless, that development is a never-ending process. As a result, we will continue to work hard and invite all Gambian citizens and supporters to come on board and be part of the national bandwagon to fly the Gambian flag much higher. These flags, the collective responsibilities that lie on every one of us. To spell it out, these are the civil responsibilities of acting passionately and legitimately on our mandates, roles, duties, and assignments as public servants or private citizens or both. Our national plans, sector policies, programs and projects, legal frameworks, and service delivery are done transparently to allow for public participation and scrutiny. Every citizen and friend of the Gambia, therefore, has the opportunity to be part of the process, and we encourage everyone to come on board. I challenge you to transform these thoughts into sustained, meaningful dialogue, to educate the people and allow everyone to play their roles as patriotic and constructive Gambian citizens. I suggest further that such themes be the thrust of formal and informal discussions, including engagements in educational and non-educational institutions, to feed into the public discourse on our collective responsibility to protect, preserve, and make the most of the nation and its resources. The ultimate goal of all such engagement must, however, rest on the attainment of our development targets and objectives. The recent consultative activities with the political leaders and national dialogue were both received with approval and were successful. The response and participation of political leaders, civil society organizations, and the public were healthy and constructive. I thank the participants and organizers alike for these accomplishments and urge that we continue the process with the same good spirit and goodwill. I thus endorse the National Dialogue Initiative to be an annual event. Fellow Gambians, boys and girls, lives have never been rosy all the way. Therefore, we do not promise that life in the Gambia could be trouble-free. It is unrealistic to expect this. We are bound to encounter difficulties, such as those imposed on us due to global developments. Price rises, shortages of essential commodities, and budgetary constraints should be expected. In such circumstances, we should unite patiently and apply remedial measures. The government will always seek ways out of every difficulty that confronts the nation, and we expect the people to support us to resolve such challenges. I pay tribute to all those who have contributed to our progress and attainments so far. These include those within and outside the country, be they in government or in any other domain of public-private life. The citizens of the Gambia in general and our partners in particular fall within this bracket. Distinguished personalities, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as we celebrate our National Day, my government reaffirms its commitment to building an education system that is not only a pillar of national pride, but also a catalyst for sustainable, inclusive development. Indeed, we are charting a course towards a brighter more educated future for every child living in the Gambia. At the forefront of our achievements is the remarkable progress in inclusive and equitable education. The success story on providing school infrastructure is equally unprecedented. This is meant to influence learning outcomes and positively impact enrollment. Besides increasing access to quality education, my government is setting the stage to adequately equip our citizens with expertise in digital technology through the school curriculum. We will continue as well to recognize, honor, and celebrate both teachers and students who excel without injustice to anyone within the sector. Boys and girls, there are a lot of opportunities at your disposal. Nations, particularly the youth, thrive on education and training. You must realize, therefore, that skills, education, and training could speedily result in building the economy, expanding self-employment, and allowing you to take control of the economy. The recent establishment and upgrading of tertiary and higher education institutions by my government are meant to multiply your chances of success. The future is yours, but so is the present being modeled in your favor. Make the most of both worlds, and your families, communities, and nation will forever remain proud of you. As the adage goes, the key in use is never rusty. Stick to your schoolwork, read extensively, and work like disciplined citizens so that you will shine bright wherever you may be. The education sector personnel and students, the security services present, and the organizing committee of these 59 Independence Day anniversary celebrations deserve special mention. I thank you all most sincerely. Together with our outstanding security services, the exciting voluntary organizations, and resourceful teachers, we thank every student for the brilliant parade displayed this morning. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we appreciate your attendance and congratulate everyone on this auspicious occasion. I pray that we celebrate the day together for a long time to come, and humbly ask God to bless us and bless the Gambia. I thank you for your kind attention.
The Independence Anniversary.
Gambia la tariko kono, Gambia la politiko kono, lumman sobon na tariko kono, lungo men kummayata, kanyil lungo si wolom 18 February 1965. Nyalde nganyin kumofo, mo may yalon ko, tuwabo le mara, kabo Angleterre forcé wakan, keke jongoti, samyi keme jama, ninna ba mol so meye tewosidi e kelo ke fojo ya julo kundu dan kamato wala 18 February 1965 mamira mobe kun soto la mentam bidawol obulum balti na lungol kom nyaaje ko wala kumaba nyaaje iko president sa dawda kayraba jawara ni 18 February 1965 wala wasa nyaaje iko president Yaya Jammeh ñin 18 February 1965 wala asab ñaaje ko president Adama Barrow ñin 18 February 1965 wala asab oto lunku malo ñin ñamoy ko Central Bank of the Gambia iko Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia mune o sabu ñin lungole asab wala ñim lunku ma bat bari no Gambian ko tentulande jura la fanan mbeni mbara kata kuwol men beke da kabin 1965 anin bitem mbemel ni mbara nak me alon ko te lekada jarinte wolti num ye kelo ko yarantel mawlu fo gambia na ta fanso wol kono president sa dawda kairaba jawa bar dunia man dan karama doron o sa dawda kairaba jawa lo patio mel ya ko mira mel ya ko tama sanjali bojan wol man karam bari hakkilo so do wol hakkilo wala be karamo nyaata woto mol me jurala bi bak kontanta fanan na vice president wala nala jam former vice president wala mel nala jam bi e mo nani le be sirin jang bari dunya ko be o nyaale mo ni la lungol jin kanale anu lungol ka tambile bari ku kili wo kumayata ni naata fay do ko ke la gambie la banko e foy naata e fonyondi e buña iko nyim place kuma be sini woltuno e buña wokan ye kumandi wokan woto mu kule di mela ko nyanta mo be sila nde president baro men be lori njambi nin duata lu wolu nga duwa nyinnale na president bankairo kono ngamuru ngaken former president of the Republic of the Gambia natara sini nyim banko kan ngana sinyi mabe dula yento kumandi as former president of the Republic nga wala duwa bunya balon waye mo man fisia modi nyim banko kan bele kanya nyim banko bele tamu nyim banko bari wati de sur la mo dandan wolle be tan la nyaato mel be banko tamandi 1965 president Jawara be lolo jallumen yaran dawlu to ngati sabadron ne soto jumala amira num ka fogo bi 59 years ndele be lolo janka ki gambia la president mo amira num barakit zawal oto ndefana tabe tambilale mo do na lo jang ay ndel na history bar lafda ni history ni be bala ke history ni ñaari mbati ay ken na legacy oto mbafala gambian ko be nga ñillu ngo kuma ne lu ngo ñi suida mbonga mabe mbenga jura mbenga kontan ñinandu musanji tan lulu anin kononto bari jaari de kala sanji tan woroniti natar hadama di wotara faye sanji tan woro si amunta ko sa ñanta do ko kala faye pension woto na banko ala sanji tan woro abe sila netsia woto afrogale ar keba yata fa afroga dulado mi ala ñanta pension non bari yalo banko de pension na bari labita jaari wolo sanji tan woroti mba jurala le baaki gambia kon mbe lafila nga modol fon in ba nebe bala banku dol to ina maabe ngam fannitan din dellam jumalti ani nga katol men ko sanjita woro ko oto mbe nyin kibaro dira mobe la ka fo jaari mbe lafila mobe maabe nyin lumato wolo keta non kumodi me anon kam men soto bari mbe former president la muso mba tentula baake le di cilel Jawara anata maabe jang mba tentula andu mba congratulate fana former vice president mbe congratulate la nama sakunda mohammed bi jam bebe congratulate la woron na minister ni na cabinet ni amoy cabinet 13 February 1965 wala asabu ni amoy ba for honorable minister honorable national assembly member lord mayor 18 February 1965 woron mbal be tentula mbal be jayla mba fala ko assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
You heard the President of the Republic of the Gambia, President Adama Barrow, delivering his independence address to Gambians at the Makati Square in Banjul, where, as you have heard from him, we're having 4 former vice presidents in attendance. Of course, Vice President Hamajang, Vice President Dr. Aissatou Touré, Vice President Aissatou Saidi, Vice President Bibi Dabo, and of course, the wife of the late former President, Lady Chilal, is also in attendance. Ansumana Mbuch, you have heard the President deliver his statements, trying to highlight some of the achievements that have been achieved, despite what he calls some of the challenges his government is facing. He has used his address to call on all Gambians to join him in developing the country, but equally trying to re-emphasize the importance of the national dialogue, which was convened by him under the theme, our collective responsibility in preserving the nation, safeguarding the state, and securing our resources. What's your main takeaway from the president's address?
Well, we had the English bit and the Mandinka bit, and he seemed more impassioned with the Mandinka bit. That was quite interesting. And what he said, for me, what stood out was just what he said, that he hopes that one day he'll be a former president and stay in this country and come to events like this.
And the address.
Absolutely, that is key. Now that should determine now his modus operandi. How are you going to do that? Because we see that a good number of presidents miscalculate with this part, the ending. How do you manage a successful succession, as it were? So, to my mind,
let's now get the national anthem before the president leaves.
National anthem nasmana jamangume Kenyan His Excellency President of the Republic ay sagen lagi tawran mo po antadala na haplas Allah kana ko sallallahu zaman na kunya invite ni yaro Allah nan odina ke kota diwa don asu kana bare nan ke kota wari nan kale ke kota jura nan no kondi sasa kundu Excellency President Adama Barrow andaka dalana awa tele kata state house par pesa ke kata na daga de ko agane tele no ngatang aternita nya kata
and also him wanting to leave a very good legacy behind, you know, wanting to be remembered in a good way, wanting to be able to live in this country after his presidency. We haven't heard that so far. Sadauda was away for what? For over 10 years,
Absolutely.
I think. Jammeh, since he left, he's still in exile. Yeah. But he wants to be the first president in our history to still live in Gambia peacefully as a former president right after his presidency. And I think for me, that is huge because there's a lot involved in that. How do you go about achieving that, you know, but also what would that mean for us as a people and for his successor? There's a lot, you know, we can really learn from all of that. But I think for me, my biggest takeaway is the message for us to preserve the peace we have in this country and him wanting to leave behind that legacy.
Mr. Moch?
Yes. It is one thing to want things, you know what I mean? Quite another, how do you achieve that? What we've realized is that a good number of presidents tend to overstay. That is really what the lesson is. They tend to overstay, and then all sorts of trouble might ensue from that.
Yeah.
But right now, I feel that the country, we're entering this phase of a kind of renewal. I don't think I've seen us come together like this for a very long time, if you know what I mean. With the idea of the national dialogue, everybody came, and then just there we just saw the former
vice presidents,
different persuasions. So it appears as if there's a kind of rare consensus, as it were, and then people want to come together for the betterment of this country. These are all fantastic motivations, but always the devil is in the detail.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How can we avoid the narrow party interests and emphasizing the rivalry? Because nobody should be mistaken. They are rivals in many ways. Each party would want to be the party in government.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. But how do we do that? You know what I mean? So that will be the challenge. How do I keep this sort of coalition, as it were, of optimism? Can I call it that coalition? How do I keep it going? That will depend on the actions that I do. So we will see whether he can pull this one off, really. Only time will tell.
Good. So just ci lu gàtt rek so dégg nga président bi lu mu wax si wax yi mu gaaral fale ca Makati Square yow ban jàngat nga si jël.
waaw jàngat bi Aliou ñaar la bi moo njëkk a wax ci anglais dafa wax si yenn si jafe-jafe yi nga xam ne réew mi jaar na ci wala mu ngi see jaar ba tey wax na tamit si yokkute yi nga xam ne am nañ ko waaye bi moo wax si man foog naa
balal ma eso ñu ngi maa wax ne Choi right now mu ngi Banjul mu ngi interview ki nga xam ne moo nekk di former first lady of course Lady Chilel Jawara. Let's just go with Choi and take a listen as to what they're saying there.
What are your reflections on this special occasion? I think the president's statement is very up to the occasion. How the nation has weathered the many challenges globally. And we are thriving as a nation, thriving in an area of democracy, rule of law, and economy is doing well. People are going about their lives. And we are not immune to global challenges. But one thing we can say, Gambia is moving in strides. We are doing very well. Our partners are quite pleased with us. And the records are there for all to see. So we are very pleased that the president's statement is very apt, encouraging the youths and every Gambian, opening the hands of every participant to participate in national development and nation building. Thank you.
We on an occasion like this, we talk about, our political independence, but also, the reforms taking place in order to achieve economic development so that we are able to implement the infrastructure development, the development of this country. What is your ministry doing towards that?
Well, I think it's there for all to see. We are very pleased under the support and leadership of the president and their cabinet. We have put in place many reform agendas that have assisted in domestic resource mobilization. We have seen the Revenue Authority generate record revenue levels. Last year they collected 15.75 billion, a record in the history of the Gambia. And all these resources are deployed and invested back in the lives and livelihood of the people. So the way forward is let's reform, let's turn a new page and make sure that we become self-reliant and mobilize resources domestically, enhance transparency, and make sure that we fight illicit financial transactions so that we will be able to develop and generate resources that can put us in charge of our national development. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've just heard from the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs. Honorable former Cabinet Minister, you're just witnessing, independence celebrations here, and you've heard from His Excellency the President. You're someone who lived the past and today the present. What are the future prospects of this country given the realities today?
Well, I think every Gambian should take pride of what we are today. When you hear the president speaking about us as Gambians, not as individuals, when you hear the president saying that we all have a contribution to make, no matter where you come from, every Gambian should now be ready to make this country what it is. And we must all come together. We must all subscribe to the development of this country in a better way. So I am proud to be a Gambian today, and I hope every Gambian is proud to be a Gambian.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We've just heard from the former Minister of Fisheries, and that's Mamadou Sabali with the school-going children. Viewers, you are watching us live at Makati Square, where we have just witnessed His Excellency President Adama Barrow addressing the nation as part of events of the independence commemoration in the country. Honorable Sabali, thank you very much for joining us. Yes, yes. We are now talking to Mr. Sabali, who is also a former Secretary General, under the previous government. Tell us, you've had the President's, address. What are your takeaways and your reflections on this special occasion?
Indeed, a very inspiring speech, a speech that challenges all Gambians to come together as citizens of this nation to move the development process forward. I was particularly impressed that the President reminded us that there were presidents before him, notably our founding father, Sadoda Kairaba Jawara, former President Jammeh, and telling us that even himself, who stands here as president today, his prayer is one day he would be called former president. I think this is a great lecture in democracy. His Excellency the President, recognizing the former vice presidents of this country, from the First Republic to the second, to the current administration, I think I'm really impressed and I'm really proud of President Barrow and the advice he gave to the young people also to read and to vie in excelling in contributing towards national development. I think it's a very great speech and I'm happy to be a part of this great day.
Yes, in terms of our independence, how far do you think we have gone in political and economic development? And what are the prospects for this country in the future?
I think we've gone very far. The critics may be lamenting about things, but I guess it's because some of us were not here before independence, but some of us have read accounts of the deplorable condition of this city called Banjul, and seeing what has happened over time, over these 3 administrations, seeing the developments as the President himself highlighted in health, in education, in agriculture, in academics, in the professions. I think the Gambia has come a long way, and we owe the leaders from President Jawara to President Jammeh to President Barrow, we owe them a very big thank you. But also, President Barrow made reference to the people we called uneducated, the community leaders, people like Sanjali Bojang, who may not be able to speak pristine English like me, who may not have had a degree, but their contribution towards the evolution and development of this country is bigger than mine. And this include our women leaders, like Ajifat Salah, who was a leader during the PPP era. I think definitely we've come a long way, and together as a nation, under President Barrow, we owe ourselves a big clap and a big celebration, because the youths are very happy in this country.
Thank you very much. We've just heard from Mamadou Sabali, the former Secretary General of the Civil Service, talking to us about some of the...
Well, there you had Mamadou Sabali, former Secretary General, Minister responsible for presidential affairs, and under former President Jammeh. They are speaking to my colleague Lamin Choi, and as you have heard him, his slogan now is "The youth are happy." But I mean, Mr. Mboch and Sumana, you have heard from the Finance Minister, Sidi Keita, you have heard from James Gomez, former Fisheries Minister, and Mamadou Sabali. Yeah,
I mean, just quickly, I mean, before Choi came in, we were talking about, the President's statement. Mang doon wax ne rek bokk na si lu mu wax mooy bugga na gannaaw presidency am ñu ko fàttale ko ci event yu mel nii as former president te bugga naa toog fii si biir réew mi ndax xam nañ ne Saadaw gannaaw coup d'état bi génnoon na réew mi dem na si biti lu tollu si ay fukki at wala lu tegal balaa moo ñëwaat Gambia. Président Jammeh bu mandatam bi jeexee ba mu fi génn ba tey mu ngi exile moom nag bu ne bëgg naa toog fii after mandatam loolu nag comme lu ministre Mbodj doon wax liggéeyam moo koy may loolu te ñu ne tamit képp koo xam ne Gambien ngay tam foog nga baaxee lu mel noonu ndax kuy ñëw after moom yooyu di nga bëgg a legacy bu baax. But regarding what Sabali's statement and that of the former Fisheries Minister, I think they basically echoed what we said earlier, on the need for us to come together as a people. Yes, we can disagree even politically, we can disagree on some of these national issues, but at the end of the day, Gambia should come first. We should always prioritize the national interest. And I'm not surprised that even Mr. Sabali also did talk about some of the things we emphasized earlier regarding the president's statement on wanting to leave a good legacy behind. I think for me that is going to be one of the key highlights of his independence statement this year.
Mr. Mbodj, dégg nga président bi li mu gaaral, I mean, comme dégg nga Ansoumana li mu wax rek, I like the fact na mu ngi xalaat ne ni mu yàgg nguuram dafay jeex te keneen dafay ñëw. te foo naa si àdduna lépp looy def rek lu jar a sóoraale la. loo gis am na fu muy am. te lu ñëw suba kenn xamul ko soo ku nekk da nga ko war a sóoraale.
Oh, absolutely. Gisal circumstances you ko fa dugal. Quite extraordinary. moo tax am na ñu ko daan oyee di accidental president ak façon ngi wax yu mel noonu. bi ma dégg James Gomez, former minister, déglu foofu. Mamadou Sabali. Of course, dafa am the special talent pour hyperbole. Let us be honest, guys. Of course, fi ñu baro jëlee, given the low level we nekkoon, mu ngi make strides in every other area. Damage bi dafa graawoon. It was really a deep damage. So we are making modest strides moving forward. He is doing as best he can. That's what we realize. That's what it is. So for me, the focus, the motivation from Neka, the heart is in the right place. He wants to do good. For me, I want to focus on the big picture for now, because the idea of how far have we come? You see, it's even difficult to judge in many ways, because when we started independence, did we have a roadmap of benchmarks? In 10 years, fii lañ war a nekk. In 20 years, fii lañ war a nekk. How do you know? This is uncharted territory. ñu ngi la jox independence si conditions su garaaw yoo xam ne yoo amuloo dara ba pare international system bi is very exploitative. Hence now ñu ngi gis in Francophone Africa at least that reaction. yaa ngi gis that reaction. So it was always going to be difficult. So improvements yi nga def dafa necessarily di modest. ñi move on ndànka yow nga def li nga mun keneen ñëw def li mu mun li ma ragal mooy ma ñëw foog ne maa ngi def lu rëy so muy tuut li nga xala complexe and let us be careful ñuy claim too much was in it Amilcar Cabral moo daan wax ne moytul li nga claim don't claim too much. So we have to say these things. So we are making modest strides. Everybody will accept that about President currently. So now Nakala is a more national consensus. Everybody did contribute. Then you want the toxicity in our politics. You gis nañ liñ fi doon gis at the past the elections on social media and all the rest of it. So I hope that with this idea of a national dialogue, then move away from that. I'm a better political environment, healthy. You know, political environment.
You know what's the need for actions. Dañoo am dialogue mu am foofu waaye there has to be action. Man, I like the fact ne Aliou Ankoron highlight earlier ne at least former 4 vice presidents invite nañ leen. Foog naa lii mooy first time ma gis Dr. Aïssatou Njie Seydi si
I think these are
national event.
public appearances.
Public appearance,
testimony at
national
the
event. Gannaaw TRRC bi, which is good.
Yeah.
Doo mën a wax reconciliation ci benn boor and then nga wax about national unity nga wax si ne dañu war a in as much as dinañ disagree politically waaye nañ jël interest si réew mi ba pare nekkuñ di def yenn actions. It has to be seen to be done. Bu mu nekk rek wax kese. So man lii dama ko rafetlu gis naa fa ñu mel ni ñoom Bibi Dabo nga xam nga kooku fekkee na jamono Saala Dal yàgg na si nguur fekkee na démba fekkee tey façon nit boobu tamit dina baax nga am ko around ñuy share experience is good. So man dama rafetlu the initiative pour invite everybody on board, opposition la woo government la woo CSO la woo religious leaders yi everybody especially si events yu mel nii dafa am solo trop because dafa am lu moo wone symbole bu rëy la si réew mi.
Absolutely. I mean, moom as the political head dafa war a def yu mel noonu. You know what I mean? Bu Aïssatou Njie Seydi xam nga well am na ñu daan wax ne xam nga because of the adverse mention ak recommendation si ak am na yu demee noonu. waaye bii xëy na niñ ko xoolee mooy boobu it's a different process. That process will take its course. Just because perhaps the president invited everybody, loolu waxut ñu anything about that. So we confuse the two. It's in the spirit of this national dialogue. I imagine it's actually in the spirit of the national dialogue. That's why Mrs. Aïssatou Njie said this is new. And yes, and dañ ko war a jox substance. Really, and it is true na ñun ñëpp ñoo ko war a jox substance. Waaye moo tax maa ngi keep on li wax lii ne its success will depend on how it is managed by the president. Moom moo nekk in power really, moom mooy take the lead. We just hope ne xam nga rek people around him, his team, understand really this concept. As it were, then everybody come together. But even with this national dialogue, let us define the terms. What exactly do we want it to do? I think that really matters. Is it going to be kind of a problem-solving platform? But dañoo jël issues, problems, and you try to create solutions. Ñun ñëpp dinañ reasonably agree. Therefore, ñun ñëpp jàpp ci pour ñu implement ko. So it will be important pour ñu clearly define the terms, ba pare ñu ñëw ak an attitude boo xam ne dafa amenable to collective work. Xam nga am na ñoo xam ne they are not good team players at all. ñooñu dañ dee yaaxa team. So fu ñu jaar ñu define suñ terms, ba pare ñëw with the right attitude boo xam ne dama bëgg a form a broad tent. As it were, ñun ñëpp dinañ ci xëcc. So boobu mooy nekk the massive challenge, the man management skills. Nit more difficult pour nga isi ñu together ba pare ñu sustain ko, isn't it? That is the key. It is easy in the short term nga isi nit ñu waxtaan whatever nga si lu ñu doon wax mu nekk a talking shop. As they said from the beginning. Waaye lan nga war a def pour keep it sustainable and productive.
Exactly.
Why so xoolee njiiti political parties yi Ansumana foog nga ne yan role lañ war a play. Earlier on Mr. Mbodj mu ngi doon ne about these rank and file supporters yi nekk si parties yi ñoo nekk on social media di wax lu nekk. Why as a political party leader yow you have a role to play si ni nga waxee xam nga ni nga jëfee ak loolu yëpp. So si yow ban role nga foog ne political leader si war nañ ko mën a play si lañ nekk di waxtaanee nii.
gaa am nañ ci rôle bu mag because soo bàyyi xel politics si Gambia xam naa ne politics everywhere soo nekkee si opposition bi mostly loolu day focus on mooy di criticize government kese. Sometimes nga gis ne xëy na nguur dina def dara réew mi yëpp di si njëriñoo but doo si wax you wouldn't even comment on it. Doo si sax wax loolu daf dee am fii nag waaye benn ñoo ko di def si opposition bi ñoo xam ne da ngaa gis xëy na ñu gis dara lu ñëpp war a mën a rafetlu réew mi di si njëriñoo ñu comment si very few ñoo ko dee def. ñu nekk si nguur tamit si government bi tamit all luñ dee seet rek mooy li bon li opposition bi di def waaye loo xamante ne ñun ñëpp ñoo ko bokka te réew mi yëpp di si njëriñoo su dee benn boor bee ko def beneen boor bi di ko appreciate kon ni mu ko war a defee so foog naa baax na moo tax li ma wax mooy am ñoom ñëpp si benn plateforme bi lu baax la because dafa jafe trop Gambia rôle buñ ci am mooy ñoom am nañu rôle bu mag pour gis ne réew mi am na jaama because tey su opposition bi yëngatoo am na ni moo mel dina jafe pour yow sa bopp ak man ñu jóg dem liggéey we see exemple xoolal li xew tey suñ nebo si so ñoom am nañ ci rôle pour gis ne préserve nañ jaama ci réew mi du nguur rek waaye because nguur tamit opposition bokk na si lu ko bàyyi xel di ko wan ne fii baaxut te lépp lu ñoo point out noonu at the end of the day su baaxee ñun laa njëriñ so ñoom am nañ ci rôle tey soo xoolee Gambia social media for example trial ekati even a political conversation di nga gis ku jógee nowhere saaga la o wax la lu garaaw te so yow mi sa xëj na li nga toog fii tey di analyse lii rek nit a ngi laa saaga on social media because mu ngee fiil na gis-gisam ak yow sa bos du benn so loolu nag political party leaders yi ñoo mën a génnee loolu moo xam ne yaa ngi si nguur nga sa parti mu ngi si nguur wala sa parti mu ngi si opposition bi am nga a very big role to play in this gis na jaama ang si réew mi ba pare am nañ dat politique bu set bi xam naa ne jafe na trop Africa waaye it's important mun nañoo ñaakaa déggoo si kàddu ñaakaa déggoo si gis-gis ak gom-gom waaye waruñoo mun a réeroo ba nga xamante ne dañoo fàtte ne ñun ñoo bokk Gambie bi.
and to some extent da nga lay gis ne lii dem ba fii ñu even si place liggéeykaay yi yow mun ngaa nekk di liggéey si nguur sax because ànduloo ak parti bu nga ne boo moo nekk di rule yow all you do is just def yoo xam ne dafa sabotage li nga xam ne dafa yóbbu dëkk bi si kanam loolu tam c'est problème da nga ne ñu koy experience.
di jeedu xaaj façon yooyu loolu dafa immature.
waaw.
nit sooy def yooyu damage loo government de as such yaa ngi damage suñu bopp ñu ni neen. because fu ma mun di liggéey dinaa bëgg a mu productive su dee public sector su productive yi loolu la ordinary people they enjoy. so loolu really maa ngi damage suma dëkk really damage juma government. Law expect from political leaders responsibility. Gis nga li nga wax earlier about political leaders mun a génne that toxicity from social media. No, du garding ko ever mun.
Yeah.
The genie is out of the bottle.
waaw Mr. Mbodj dafa mel ni léegi président bi léegi mu ngi dox mu ngi dellu State House gis nañ mu ngi ànd ak Lady Sadio Mballo Barrow ak First Lady Fatima Bah Barrow gannaaw bu mu paree di garal ko dem taxaw na pour nuyuwante ak ñëpp ñi nga xam ne ñëw nañ fa gis nañ mu ngi doon nuyuwante ak ñi nga xam ne moom moo leen invite pour ñu fekkee li nga xam ne moo nekk célébration fi mu nekk ni président mu ngi dellu State House fi nga xam ne just a stone throw xam naa boobu daf koo dox rek.
Absolutely. This particular one, Mom, the 59th anniversary, Mom, is very interesting one. The theme, my togetherness, opposition and everybody, which I like. It is fantastic. But this is really where responsibility, feel a responsibility the new way in. You the social media, you nasty, you don't stop. Why dangane as far as our party is concerned ñun bokkuñ ci lii bokkuñ ci lële kuy jéem a associate boppam ak loo xam ne dafa divisive génnal nga condemn ko so am na certain responsibilities yoo xam ne ñu ngi mature am na yuñ war a def dama disagree with government ñii duma pour saaga ñii duma pour use yenn inflammatory language boo xam ne mu start nag nit ñi at least start di xalaatee all sorts of ways so we just want maturity responsibility from leaders.
because foo naa li nga wax ne dafa am solo si man duma advice kenn benn politicien jaral la ngay dem di saagante ak nit on social media because politics it is what it is tey xam nga ku tax ngay jóg di saagante because of kooku noonu kooku ëllëg mun na switch mu dem fa ne expect loo ko fa so moo tax lépp looy def politics rek na am limite na am foo si war a am because aduna la ëllëg foo na solante kenn xamut ko te these politicians next minute ñoom ñooy toog di naan coffee gis nañ lu xew Côte d'Ivoire Ouattara Gbagbo ñaata ñoo si dee next minute ñoom ñoo toog ci palais bi di naan coffee so foo naa in terms of politics si man li may da ñaax gars yi moo nekk ne lépp looy def daal na am limite doomi am lépp looy def na am limite waaye nekk on social media di saaga bàyyi jàmbur yaay jàmbur and then suñu dajee si mbéy bi nga pretend as if nothing everything is okay when it is not.
alors gis nga dañu war a jàngee lu bari si suñ independence anniversary bi ren before independence bi si ay fan yu teglante suñ political party leaders yi ñëpp a ngi garde benn place di waxtaan ci loo xam ne mooy interest Gambia léegi tey man gisuma lana war a tax man bokka ci parti boo xamante ne moo nekk in government moo maa jaral may saaga ku nekk si opposition bi wala ma nekk si opposition moo maa jaral may saaga ku nekk si parti bi nekk in government mun nañoo disagree let's talk on policies ñu wax si programmes ñu disagree mun naa criticize obviously su ma gisee lu jaaduwul dinaa ko wax waaye Gambia ñun suñ boppa sax amuñ aada boobu noonu aada xeex aada saagante am nga di wax yenn yi ñun amuñ aada boobu so dina baax ñu jàngee si loolu su dee ñun suñ leader si ñoo mën a toog ci benn néeg di waxtaan si loo xam ne mooy interest Gambia lan moo tax man ak yow ñu war a àgg to some level mun nañoo disagree ñu criticiseante ñu waxante lu ba na rafet la di bi civil ba pare ñu xool loo xamante ne mooy interest yi dëkk bi ku gis nag loo xam ne feel nga ne lii de jaarut yoon wala nguur def na li te jaarut yoon génnal nga criticize waaye na ànd ak teggin mu jaar si yoon.
because loo wax ne kii rek du ko mos a fàtte.
exactly
mun na laa baalal waaye du ko mos a fàtte.
and soo nekkee in government tamit nga gis ne xëy na opposition bi am na lu ñu def loo fil ne nekkul si interest nit ñi génnoon nga criticize ko waaye na jaar ak yoon let it be civil but suñ buggee encourage that culture of lu ma neex wax I mean man foog naa dañ war a jànge lu bëri si suñ celebration bi ren because xoolal team bi nga xool suñ political party leaders yi ni ñoo doxalee ren wax dëgg ne yàlla man appreciate naa ko and comme lu Mr Mbodj loolu wax I hope ne lu ñoo continuer la bu mu nekk rek def nañ ko benn yoon pare nañ ci wala ñu toog next year ñu waxtaanee waat the same things again.
Well, because li nga ne is very important war na nekk just event boo xam ne dañ ko organise just to score political points. dafa war a nekk loo xam ne dañ ko gom. right that's very important su nekkul rek dafa nekk ok dajee nañ mit nañ media bi ñeen wax cover nañ ko international media bi gis nañ ne ok li mu ngi xew Gambia rek and that's the end of it no. dafa nekk loo xam ne comme na ko waxee rek dafa war a nekk loo xam ne dañ gom si li ñuy wax te ak li ñuy oote su nekkul loolu rek dafa nekk comme loo ko waxee rek dajee naan coffee lekk chicken ñibbi.
Absolutely. So gis nga fii yes ni ñoo waxee nii yëpp it's all nice waaye am na lu ñoo jéem a balance fii isn't it. xam nañ ne politics is not a bed of roses. ku nekkaa nga compete for am na lu ma bugga moo taxoon earlier on man ma ooyee national dialogue as sort of the art of how to disagree. So man this is the key now this is the crux of the matter. There will be disagreements. How are you going to resolve your disagreements? Xam nga the genius of democracy mooy gis nañ ne daal fu ma isi a population of nit ñu debate anything ni nga am different shades of opinion so in the end ñu ne ok comme mënuñoo force dara ñu dem ñu vote will put a show of hands ki gën a bari la yow nga ñëw form government. You see that's how you manage disagreement. How do you manage disagreement loolu mooy nekk suñ key challenge dig dina am so loo bëggut mooy in the name of consensus my stifle dissent. See, you don't want that. So what we're trying to do here is very balancing act being fi bëgg a def dafa interesting naka la ñoo amee healthy disagreement which will inevitably come waaye tamit in the name of consensus rek xam nga léegi moo tax ñu bari yenn politicians yi nga wax ne bëgguma consensus because léegi lim de mean mooy a few loud mouths jëm rek hijack a whole thing ba pare ñëw ne li ABCD la nga am nag maybe Massimo Mbodj bi am meek ñu ngi ko enforce ñu ngi impose dara so léegi li ñu defa ne consensus la oh please it isn't like that and loolu sax am na yoo xam ne healthy wood the best ideas emerge out of discussions different points of view divergence mooy dynamism so it is important ñu am this healthy debate where mun nga accommodate disagreement loolu really am mooy suñ challenge li ma ragal fii tamit mu dem ba ci kanam xam nga yenn parti apparatchiks ñu ne oh kii agree wut ak suñ lii therefore opposition la nekkul ne every disagreement like necessarily an opposition so you need mature people to manage this su ko immaturity dafee rek lu tuuti rek ñu da nga xale lañ teel a mer
da nga xool man de
xam nga rek confuse issues ba pare léegi duñ dee tidy in our thinking we confuse issues so man loolu laa ragal rek the practical application of liñ bëgg a def nii that togetherness how are we going to practically apply it without necessarily the throttle important honest discussions.
So
I mean I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't agree more because I mean xam nga there's one thing pour ñu bëgg a politics bu set politics boo xam ne dina bàyyi xel suñ aada suñ cosaan waaye tamit loi waaye tamit doo bëgg a tamit doo ko bëgg a defee ne wee boo xam ne da ngaa noot nit ñi to the extent where tey man su ma bëggoon a wax sax suma xalaat damaa ne maa su ma ko waxee sax gars yi duñ ko gisee ne xëy na man damaa cause trouble right so striking a balance si diggante yooyu tamit I mean I agree it can be quite difficult waaye yëpp si jëfin bi laa nekk fi mu ne naka la ñoo def pour gis ne liñ ci bugga am nañ ko si bu mu nekk rek wax kese you know foog action nekk fa foog nga wone ne li ñu sumba nii de ne lii lañ ci bugga nii lañ ko nekk di doxalee te lii lañ ci bëgg a jëlee du ne rek nga toog am nga just the usual rhetorics nga wax rek nga noppi si ñu ñëwaat next year ñu gaara again ñu waxaat the same thing ñu noppi si it cannot be like that it dafa mel ni tey soo la wax affaire yi patriotism ngay wax affaire yi nationalism dafa war a feeñ ci yow sa actions it can't be just rhetoric nga wax rek nga pare si then nga ñëwaat the next year nga waxaat the same thing it will get to a point where nit ñi sax ñoo la du dégluwaat so you have to foog nga def dara luy tax nit ñi tam mun laa toppa bu mu nekk wax kese there has to be action.
Absolutely. Or otherwise, fan la ñoo jëlee the inspiration to still believe pour ñu follow. There's another important concept fii essentially dafa mel ni bi democracy moo ko xam this notion called tolerance. See this dafa dina important torop léegi in a free society nit dina wax lu ma naxari yeah so moo tax démocrates yu bëri ñoom di concept biñ dee emphasize mooy tolerance not necessarily consensus. Let us get the distinction here because it's in the nature of democracy dinañ ma wax lu ma neexut sun léegi so tolerance téere la in a democratic society téere la daf la dee moo dee gën a isi peaceful coexistence
li nga wax ànduma si waaye naa ko toléré waaye nekku ne dama gëm li nga wax waaye toléré naa la nañ dem rek
naka la ko waa ji waxee woon mu ne ko I may disagree with you completely but I will fight to my death for your right to say it. That's really the quintessential democratic spirit. For me, they follow. I may completely disagree with you, but I will fight to my death for your right to say it. Man, they more essentially summarize what democracy is. So without these things, tolerance ak yu mel noonu du dox. It is not simply about man this is what I think lii mooy suma opinion yooyu moom dafa bari around léegi very little facts. ku nekk a ngi based it on opinions. Then how are we going to resolve our situation? So taxawee fi nga taxaw ma taxaw fi ma taxaw how on earth are we going to solve problems? So fu ma jaar ma modeste pour mun a move tuuti ñëw mit la yow it nga modeste nga mun a ñëw tuuti nga ñëw mit ma
dox daje
dox daje su ma téye fi ma taxaw rek dara du xew. We all know that. So man maa war a xam lan ay important principle boo xam ne dama ci war a taxaw ak lan nga foog ne dama war a compromise for the bigger greater peace. See, this is the balance that human beings want to make. Xam nga conviction da nga war a am conviction to things. We understand that waaye tam bul taxaw ci position boo xam ne dafa mel ni dafa freeze. ñun ñëpp suñ defee loolu dara du dox de. So it's just a matter of this balance. What should I compromise? What can I compromise on? Democracy, the art of compromise. Always da ngeen di nekk di compromise rek. So loolu da nekk di position ñoo xam ne amuñ any facts about a situation. waaye ñoo bari opinion ñoo bari judgments. Making judgments without amuloo facts. So gis nga di responsible people you should talk whether maa ngi UDP NPP whatever. su ma déggee
wala yaa ngi gap.
maa ngi gap su ma déggee nit lu wax loo xam ne lii daal nekkut healthy politics war naa laa altu. ñun ñaar yëpp a ngi nekk seen parti. waaye ma altu la. ma dem ma déggoo ma Aliou mi nekk NPP waaye moom tam mu ngi am the right kind of attitude. ñu déggoo xeex ko.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So ñu ne soo gisee bad things they dem on good people ñoo dee toog di ko seetaan. Yes.
gis lu bon bañ a wax.
gis lu bon bañ a wax.
ba pare bàyyi ma mandu rek. suma yoon nekku si.
ba pare su ma la ooyee suma nit. then you can do just anything. No, when I disagree with that. Su ma la ooyee suma nit when you do something wrong I will tell you.
loolu mooy xarit nag.
loolu mooy xarit.
loolu mooy xarit.
mas naa liggéey fee na ñu ne sooy dugga si daal waruloo tu soo ñaari xarit di ñëw kenn ki téye so mu ñetti ma ne ko gars yi ne doo mën a dugga mu wax gastu friend am ne ko dégg nga kii lim maa wax friend am ne ko waaye wax na la dëgga de mu diffuse yëpp imagine ko su meloon nekkoon neneen ne ko booy kii daf ñu bugg a yablet si lii friend am ne ko kii wax na la dëgga so mu sànni gars yi dugga si so it helps it's good people coming together
it really helps comme noo ko waxee rek soo déggee xarit kay moom mu nekk ku laa wax dëgg waaye yàlla ñu may xarit boo xam ne daf ñuy wax dëgg lu am solo la
moo am njëriñ pour yow
moo am solo ma ne moo am solo well viewers the conversation is quite interesting but I'm told time is up thank you very much Ansumana Eso Nyasi for coming on the program. Mr. Mbodj, it was good to have you as well. Well viewers, with that we bring an end to this special broadcast on the Gambia's 59th independence celebration here on QTV Gambia. I was your host, Aliou Cisse. On behalf of the production team and everyone here at QTV, we wish you a happy independence celebration. Bye-bye.